Tonight, campuses on edge as police crack down on protesters. Clashes and arrests in the U.S. as protesters in Canada vow to stay put. We break down their demands at McGill. Nearly 2 million Canadians now have new dental care coverage.
We'll take a look at your teeth here, okay?
We'll get a checkup on the national program. And frustrated Loblaws shoppers promise a month-long boycott.
A lot of people talking about how they can't make ends meet.
Will taking their dollars elsewhere really lower prices?
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. We are once again in the middle of a very fluid, very dynamic situation tonight as police appear to be ready to move in on another major pro-Palestinian protest at a U.S. university. So this is a look, a drone shot of the UCLA campus in Los Angeles. Police flooded in this evening, declaring the demonstration an unlawful assembly, coming up against protesters who've been camping out there and are vowing to remain. Lindsay Duncombe is there right now. Lindsay, I know it's dark, I know it's hard to see and hear, but can you give us a sense of how the situation has changed over the course of the evening?
Well, right now we are seeing additional police officers, different forces being brought in. I want to show you a line of officers there. They are from the Highway Patrol here in California, and right now they are the closest to the barricades there, the plywood barricades that have been added alongside the encampment. And you know, up until last night, the protests at this university were relatively calm. But then what happened is there was a movement of counter-protesters that went up against those barricades before that plywood was there and created some of the most violent scenes that we have seen as this whole situation with U.S. campuses played out. 15 people ended up in hospital, or 15 people were injured. One ended up in hospital. There were student journalists who say that they were attacked with a kind of pepper spray. There was fireworks and a lot of criticism for the fact that it took a long time for campus security and LAPD to come in. So as a result of that, what we have now is an order to disperse being read out to the people in the encampment. That was several hours ago. Since that time, the standoff has intensified. We are hearing the protesters on one side really call out the police officers, telling them to quit their jobs. Obviously, the passionate cries to free Palestine that have been echoed across campuses all over the United States and in Canada too.
I'm just curious about something, Lindsay. UCLA is not like an urban university. This is like a sprawling, open campus. Can you orient us a little bit in terms of where you are? We see the plywood, but where is everybody else? What's happening?
Well, if we go further away from that encampment, I want to walk you through what is Dixon Square. This is an idyllic campus. It is in the middle of one of the most wealthy enclaves in a wealthy city of Los Angeles. Dylan, if you can just pan past the Highway Patrol officers and come toward the officers in the middle of Dixon Square here, we can see the officers lining up there, and on the other side, there are, I would say, a couple of hundred protesters who have gathered. They've been there for several hours now. That's where a lot of the cheers, the yelling that you're hearing directed at the officers is coming from. And so this standoff situation is really created right in the middle of the campus, which, as you mentioned, is this sort of sprawling, idyllic, beautiful spot. Earlier, we saw some of these images of intensity playing out alongside people, studying, hacky sacking. It's just very a disjointed sense of being on an American campus at this time.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. We know the classes are virtual there tomorrow. Who knows what's going to happen overnight?
Yes.
We appreciate that. Lindsay Duncombe and crew in Los Angeles tonight. So that encampment is just the latest one that police have moved in on today. and one of many dotted across the U.S. and Canada. Chris Reyes takes us through what's already a very tense 24 hours.
A chant ringing out at campuses across the U.S. Even as the effort to break up the pro-Palestinian encampments has reached a boiling point, with massive police mobilizations and arrests. At the University of Wisconsin, police in riot gear moved in to clear tents. The situation heated up fast.
As our teams pushed forward to try and secure that camping equipment, protesters pushed back, some turned violent, and it resulted in several arrests.
At UCLA, a clash between pro-Palestinian protesters and counter-protesters turned chaotic and violent overnight.
I just didn't think that it would ever escalate to this level where our protest is met by counter-protesters who are violently hurting us, inflicting pain on us when we are not doing anything to them.
In New York, some semblance of calm at Columbia University after hundreds of police moved in Tuesday night to clear tents from the school's main square and remove protesters occupying Hamilton Hall, an academic building on campus.
Approximately 300 people were arrested at Columbia and City College. We are processing the arrests to distinguish between who were actual students and who were not supposed to be on the ground.
They ambushed us, they tackled us, they beat us.
Still, many are seething from what happened. Protesters are calling for the school to divest from companies supporting Israel's government.
This is the conscience of a nation speaking through your kids, through young people who are risking their futures, who are risking suspension, expulsion, criminal arrest in order to wake people up in this country.
And not far from Columbia tonight, police moved in to clear an encampment at New York Fordham University, making arrests.
And Chris, you're at Fordham University tonight, and really, just like last night at Columbia, you were there today as police moved in.
That's right, Adrian, when dozens of officers in tactical gear surrounded this school this afternoon, it felt like a repeat of what happened at Columbia last night. They came in to take down an encampment inside that just went up this morning. It was over quickly, but the sense that you get is that for every camp cleared out, this movement is energized to find other locations. So officials may be worried about graduation ceremonies in the weeks ahead, but pro-Palestinian demonstrators are saying that is not our problem. They have a cause and they're going to fight for it.
All right, Chris Reyes in New York. Thanks, Chris. Let's go to Montreal. Sarah Levitt is at McGill. A win for protesters there, Sarah, after an emergency injunction to stop the encampment there was denied.
And Adrian, a very different environment here than what we just heard from Chris and Lindsay. A lot of jubilation from that injunction being denied. That's lasted throughout the day. You can see them, they're cheering and yelling, and this has just been going on all day. Now, this request was an emergency injunction to have this camp dismantled, as well as having these protesters be banned from rallying within 100 meters of McGill campus. It was brought on by 2 students from McGill who said they felt unsafe. Now, the judge, in her ruling, rejected the injunction and said there wasn't enough evidence to warrant such a strict measure. Let's hear from someone from this protest about how they felt about that.
I think it shows that we're standing on the right side of history, the side of justice, the side of equality. We're standing with the oppressed people of Palestine. And so, yeah, we're very happy, as you can see.
Now, the lawyer who defended with the 2 McGill students did say that he accepted that decision, but he had this message for McGill in particular.
McGill has to get off the fence, stop acting like Switzerland, because the way that campus is going, you're going to see what's happening at Columbia University in the United States of America, what's happening at UCLA. We are Canadians, we are Quebecers. These are not our values.
Noteworthy, Adrian, in the judge's decision was a little bit of advice for the protesters here. She said, watch the language that you use because it could be misinterpreted as being anti-Semitic or as calls for violence. Now, McGill says they continue to monitor the situation here.
And Sarah, we're also hearing about protest encampments popping up on other Canadian campuses, right?
Yeah, well, we know about the University of British Columbia, but now we're seeing encampments at the University of Victoria as well as Western. And those daily protests being held at the University of Ottawa, well, now the tents are staked in. And, you know, police have said that they're monitoring this situation carefully here in McGill. But the protesters say even if police come in, they're not going anywhere.
All right, Sarah Levitt in Montreal for us tonight. Now, these protests are, of course, playing out as war continues to rage in Gaza. Ceasefire negotiations are still underway, and the U.S. Secretary of State is pushing Hamas to get the deal done.
There is no time for delay. There's no time for further haggling. The deal is there. They should take it.
Antony Blinken met with Israel's prime minister for hours today. Afterwards, Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated his plan to launch an offensive in Rafah. Blinken says the U.S. cannot and will not support that until it sees a plan to protect the 1.4 million Palestinians sheltering there. Back in this country, so many questions remain after Monday's horrific crash on a highway near Toronto. CBC News has learned details about the van and the deadly high-speed police chase. And Thomas Daigle hears new criticism of the decision to continue the pursuit.
Dashcam video shows how this driver had to move over fast to avoid that U-Haul van barreling the wrong way down Canada's busiest highway, pursued at high speed by Durham police. Now, CBC News has learned the license plate that officers were told was on that van wasn't registered to that vehicle.
The plate is unattached, so I don't know where it's going to be going, but again, description was a U-Haul.
Ontario Transport Ministry records show the license plate is listed as unattached, missing, or suspended, and was last associated with a Dodge Ram pickup truck in 2017.
The minute it entered the wrong way on a freeway at a high speed, absolutely there's no justification for carrying on with a pursuit of that nature.
That wild chase on Highway 401 near Toronto ended with a fiery crash and a tragedy. The death of an infant and two grandparents. The suspect also died. The driver of that mangled transport truck spent the night in hospital. The trucking company tells CBC News their driver saw the cargo van first smash into a car, then lift off the ground with the van flying into the front of that semi.
The most egregious, mindless, high-speed pursuit going the wrong way at that time of day on a major artery that I've ever seen.
Investigators say it all started with a robbery at a liquor store, but it's not clear what prompted the intense nature of the chase. Before the pursuit reached the highway, provincial police were told the operation involved 12 Durham police vehicles.
Durham advising there was a male inside the LCBO. He tried to rob the store. He pulled a knife on an off-duty officer.
Ontario's police watchdog is handling the investigation and wouldn't comment on whether a knife was used in the robbery or whether the van pursued by police had been rented or stolen. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Nearly 2 million seniors have new dental coverage tonight. It's the first phase of Canada's new national dental care program. Marina von Stackelberg explains what care is available and why some may be stuck waiting for it.
So we'll take a look at your teeth here, okay?
Morton Broussard is getting his teeth checked for the first time in 5 years. The 79-year-old is one of the first seniors to access the new Canadian dental care plan.
And the dentist is expensive, so is why I wait till the problem was very bad.
Seniors 70 and up are now covered under the National Insurance Program. Dr. Melvin Lee says he expects to see more patients with serious dental issues in the coming days.
They haven't seen a dentist 5, 10, even more years, simply because they haven't been able to afford it.
Hygienist Shannon Maitland drives her clinic directly to patients. The national plan will help cover routine dental work like cleanings, fillings, x-rays, and dentures. Maitland says that fills major gaps in the current provincial public programs.
The coverage that these clients do receive might be only emergency based, and that is when you're in pain and you have a large infection. Any pain?
But Maitland is waiting a few weeks to book patients under the new plan to see how it goes for other clinics.
Good morning.
So far, only about 1 in 5 oral health care providers have registered.
I was involved in this process very early on, and it looked really promising. And then at some point, it just took a turn and became complicated and onerous.
The federal government says it has simplified the paperwork and will let dentists bill directly to the plan without signing up. But that won't start until July, so some seniors might have to wait weeks or months to get care.
It's a lot, beaucoup.
Dr. Lee says so far things have gone smoothly in his clinic.
I do believe that dentistry should be a part of universal health care in Canada.
And that's why he hopes more dentists will also sign up. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
From the costs of dental care to groceries now, shoppers fed up with high prices say they are fighting back tonight and boycotting Loblaws stores. As Nisha Patel tells us, it comes just as the company is reporting profits are up again.
Emily Johnson was fed up with high grocery prices and after complaining online, realized she wasn't alone.
A lot of people voicing a lot of frustration. There are a lot of people talking about how they can't make ends meet.
Her Reddit group targeting the country's biggest grocer now has more than 60,000 members. Many say they will boycott Loblaws stores this month in an effort to make their demands heard.
Ideally, we'd like to see Loblaws sign the Grocer Code of Conduct. We would like to see, commitments to affordable pricing, price caps on essential items.
But retailers are pushing back against the idea that they are to blame for the crushing cost of food.
No matter how many times you read it on Twitter, the idea that grocers are causing food inflation is not only false, it's impossible.
Loblaw More Than Most has become a lightning rod for consumer resentment, sparking memes and mockery.
Remember when they were caught fixing bread prices?
I think the anger is widespread, but I don't think a boycott will grow necessarily, simply because there aren't very many options, unfortunately, for consumers.
With 2,400 stores across Canada, it's not clear if this latest backlash will hit the company's bottom line.
I like their PC points. I like collecting that, and that's one of our main grocery stores that I use.
I'm just not picky about what store, a particular store I go. Whatever the deals are, that's where I go.
I avoid Superstore and Shoppers as much as I can.
Loblaw says it's working to rebuild its trust with customers, and it does what it can to combat inflation at its stores. This boycott is kicking off as the company is reporting nearly $500 million in profits in its latest quarter. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, a sense of restraint appears to have returned to the House of Commons after a raucous question period yesterday, one that ended with the leader of the opposition kicked out. But as Rafi Boudjikanian shows us today, Pierre Poilievre was back in his seat.
A day after their leader was kicked out of the House during question period, Conservative MPs started the morning suggesting there would be more fireworks.
You should resign.
As they took fresh aim at House Speaker Greg Fergus.
I never did have confidence in this speaker.
Should resign. He's a disgrace.
Fergus tossed Pierre Poilievre from the House Tuesday after he refused to withdraw this remark while grilling the Prime Minister over the decriminalization of hard drugs in BC.
When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
Poilievre, back in the House, kept those questions up a day later, but his change in tone was stark.
Will he announce that as of today, he's changed his mind and he's reversing his legalization of hard drugs in BC, yes or no?
The Prime Minister continued to prod Poilievre over his recent visit to a carbon tax protest on the Nova Scotia-New Brunswick border, where a logo from a far-right militia group was seen.
Given the new, more reasonable tone of the Leader of the Opposition, I wonder if he might take this opportunity to reassure Canadians that he does not support extremist white nationalist organizations. His refusal to denounce far-right nationalist extremism cannot and will not be overlooked by Canadians.
Other opposition parties also noted the shift in tone.
It was less of a circus show we've seen from Conservatives in the past, more focus on just putting to
questions to the government, which is what it should be about.
All this as House Speaker Greg Fergus faced more calls to resign today from Conservatives and Bloc Québécois MPs. Through a spokesperson, Fergus said, "I'm not going anywhere." Rafi Bujikani, CBC News, Ottawa.
Some major retailers are deciding to pull the plug on self-checkout.
I think it's great. Keeps people employed.
Why stores are backtracking next. Cases of bird flu are showing up in cows south of the border.
It does mean that there was an infected cow contributing to the milk supply.
We look at the risks here in Canada.
Yes, we are in a bee delay.
And the beekeeper who saved the game.
He looked like he was right out of casting from Hollywood.
We're back in 2. Well, there's a new trend with self-checkouts at retailers. More stores are removing the machines, saying the technology comes at too high a price. Sophia Harris takes a closer look at the change in direction.
The all-self-checkout cashierless store, once seen as the future, is now in question. Walmart recently ditched self-checkout at 6 U.S. locations.
Different animal?
At least 6 Canadian Tires in Ontario have done the same. This giant Tiger discount store, also in Ontario, pulled all its self-checkouts just 2 weeks ago.
I thought it was great. I like the person-to-person contact. You can't say to a machine, "Have a good day."
Giant Tiger says it scrapped self-checkout here because many customers didn't like it. But some experts say it's often the added costs that are making retailers backtrack.
Stores anticipated that this technology would allow them to significantly reduce labor costs. And what they found was that actually they couldn't eliminate a lot of the cashiers because they needed the cashiers there in part to deter shoplifting and theft.
The Retail Council of Canada says some of the culprits are organized gangs of thieves who neglect to scan pricey items while unattended at self-checkout.
It could very well be 3 very expensive bottles of face cream. It could be specialized baby formula. And they target merchandise that they know has high value on the street.
Why am I under arrest? Some retailers don't like to talk about self-checkout theft. But U.S. discount chain Dollar General and Walmart recently admitted they're pulling self-checkouts from selected stores due to theft.
There are a few stores where we've made the decision that they'll come out of. Retail shrinkage is a cost, so we want to make sure that the checkout process is accurate.
What do you think of the store removing its self-checkouts?
I think it's great. Keeps people employed.
Stores replacing self-checkout machines with cashiers. It's a turn of events you saw coming. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Stratford, Ontario.
The oil is now flowing through the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, but some remain uneasy.
I'm worried about the tanker taking out one of the pillars and spilling its contents, right?
Tonight, Aaron Collins gets the reaction at the end of the line. But first, the growing concern that bird flu is spreading to cows.
I think we're way behind the virus.
The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next. Well, scientists are warning that Canada isn't doing enough to monitor for avian flu in this country's dairy cattle. Right now, the United States is struggling to contain a massive outbreak in its cows. Lauren Pelly has more on their calls for action.
South of the border, an unprecedented outbreak of bird flu in dairy cattle keeps growing. More than 30 herds across 9 U.S. states now have confirmed infections, and scientists warn the outbreak is even bigger than it appears. Government tests on processed milk found virus fragments in 1 out of every 5 samples.
The fact that we're finding viral RNA in pasteurized milk doesn't mean that there's virus in the pasteurized milk that's going to make people sick, but it does mean that there was an infected cow contributing to the milk supply.
Officials say there are no reports of this virus in Canadian dairy cattle, but there have been millions of infections among wild and farmed birds across the country, suggesting there's plenty of H5N1 circulating here, too.
CBC News asked federal officials what process is in place to detect any traces of the virus in Canadian milk. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says that's not happening yet. They'll help with testing should H5N1 be detected in Canadian cattle. The agency is also requiring dairy cows imported from the U.S. to be screened for bird flu.
I think we're way behind the virus.
Scientists say Canada needs to be more proactive.
In the absence of a robust national surveillance program, there's no way to know if there's infections here or not.
At the University of Guelph, researchers are taking matters into their own hands. The team started tracking influenza in Ontario wastewater a few months ago to study trends in human infections. Now they're pivoting to see if any H5N1 shows up.
We're seeing very low levels, if any, of influenza right now. So if we should see a sudden spike, then that would certainly get our attention.
The hope is by tracking the virus early, there's a chance Canada could prevent an explosion of cases striking our dairy cattle as well. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. Alberta crude flowing at last through the TMX and stirring anger on the BC coast.
If you're going to try and ship that stuff, we'll be out there to stop you.
But first, impressions from the heart of McGill's campus. The demands protesters make in the name of Palestinians. And how they're affected by the Columbia crackdown and clashes at UCLA. So let's go to Jamie Poisson, host of CBC's Front Burner, on location at McGill University. Jamie, you've been there, I think, for a few days now, a few long days. What strikes you? What are you seeing and hearing that really stands out?
Well, I think for me, it is how the protesters here in the camp are getting more and more organized by really the hour. I was just at the gate of the encampment where all the tents are. It's actually fenced off. You can't get in. And they say that that's because of security. They're actually turning away people who are bringing blankets because they say that they have enough. They're collecting food, and there's a first aid station. They're serving meals. They're also starting to run programming. So I heard some of the organizers talk about how they're going to be doing media training tomorrow to learn more about how to speak to journalists. They're working on their demands, and it just seems like they're getting more and more dug in as time goes on.
Okay, so they're clearly a lot more organized, but are they crystallizing what it is they want?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly seem to be. So the big ask here is divestment. So I've spoken to students from Concordia and McGill, and generally what they're asking for is for both universities to take their money out of companies that contribute to the war in Gaza or to the continuing, they say, occupation of Palestinians. So let me give you an example. For McGill, Lockheed Martin, the weapons manufacturer, is on their list. And so is RBC, that they say has a stake in a company that provides technology that they say is used by Israel to surveil Palestinians. So really, the divestment ask is the big ask here. And the students are saying that they will not leave until the universities divest, not until they promise to talk about divesting, until they actually divest.
And how does McGill respond to that?
Right. So McGill essentially is saying that there are processes to do this, and that camping out on the front lawn is not the way to do this, and that they need to use proper channels. I should say that when you talk to the protesters about this, they say that calls this kind of divestment campaign, it's not new, and that they have been calling on the universities to divest from companies connected to Israel for years, and that they haven't done anything. So this is in some ways the culmination of many years of activism for them.
Okay, so the protesters, I mean, clearly they're hunkered down. A judge has rejected the injunction against them. From your descriptions, they're in pretty good spirits, but they must have been watching those striking images of police clashing with protesters all over the United States. What effect did that have on the protesters where you are?
Yeah, so they were definitely watching last night when police moved into Columbia, and I did get the sense, speaking from some of them, that they were quite jarred by the police presence. I heard some protesters talk about how disappointed they were in the university that they would have called in that many police. They are also talking about the clashes between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian protesters at UCLA. That pro-Palestinian camp was attacked by pro-Israel protesters. And so they're talking about guidelines that they have to not interact with counter-protesters. And they won't comment on conversations that they may or may not be having around what they may or may not do if police come in.
So, Jamie, there have been claims, including from McGill University, that some protesters have made anti-Semitic remarks. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, please. So one video that has been drawing a lot of attention is a video that was released by McGill University to the media. And it actually shows a group of pro-Palestinian protesters yelling and chanting at a group of Israeli protesters. And they say things like, "Go back to Europe," and "all the Zionists are racist." And I have spoken to some of the protesters in the encampment about that. And they say that they don't recognize the pro-Palestinian protesters and that they are not part of the encampment. I will say that some of those protesters in the video are wearing masks, so it is hard to be able to verify that. Also, there are a lot of conversations happening in the camp right now around anti-Semitism. I talked to some Jewish students who are protesting in the pro-Palestinian camp, and they are leading seminars on anti-Semitism. So those are ongoing conversations that are happening all the time, the students here say.
One last thought for you. There are obviously echoes of what you're experiencing and seeing on campuses across North America. Not all of them are ending up with courts and arrests and clashes.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. Brown University in Rhode Island actually made a deal with the students, and they dismantled their tents. And in exchange for that, they're going to bring a divestment proposal to their board, and they're going to vote on it. So I've talked to the protesters here about what happened at Brown, and they're buoyed by it. They think that it's positive, but they're actually saying, just to reiterate, that they are not going to leave right now until McGill actually divests, not if they bring it to, not if they promise to maybe bring something to a vote. So I'm not sure kind of where those negotiations are with McGill or Concordia right now and where they possibly could go in the future. But it's interesting to note that not all outcomes here have ended in violence and police intervention.
All right, Jamie Poisson, thanks for this.
Thanks, Adrienne.
So you can hear Jamie's full report on the campus encampments on Front Burner. That episode drops this Friday. Check it out on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts. Well, next, the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion cost billions of dollars, but some fear its unintended costs.
The potential for a tank farm explosion and a fire.
We get to the final leg of our journey along the pipeline route, where opposition is loudest. Today, it's official. A lot more Alberta crude is headed for the coast, the heart of the opposition to the TMX pipeline.
So we're about turning off the spigot.
The project's complete, but they won't give up the fight.
So this is about stopping the money pipeline.
Aaron Collins traveled the full route of that pipeline from Edmonton to Burnaby, BC. Here's the third and final part of his journey as he breaks down the staunchest opposition to a polarizing project.
Trans Mountain's tank farm looms large atop Burnaby Mountain. Here for decades, it's bigger these days. More space needed to hold more oil coming down an expanded line. Burnaby is the end of the line for TMX, where all that oil hits tidewater and where opposition to the pipeline is strongest. The tank farm casts a shadow over some residents here.
So the tanks have always been here, but the issue now is there's more and they're bigger, and that's the worry.
Bigger,
yeah.
and the potential for a tank farm explosion and a fire, a fire from the tank farm.
Yeah.
What would we do?
Yeah, you're living this close. I mean, if that's your
Yeah,
backyard.
I call it the incineration zone.
Growing worries about all that fuel being stored on this mountain.
Would it take a disaster to change our dependence on fossil fuels?
This path, the heart of local opposition to TMX, a traditional Coast Salish watch house built as part of that resistance, still stands. Its elder still here, still fighting too, even as the oil starts flowing.
We will be out there with our boats. That's the final line with this stuff. You're going to try and ship that stuff. We'll be out there to stop you.
It's a long, hard-fought battle. Protesters here thought they'd won. They say the project's previous owner, Kinder Morgan Pipelines, was thinking twice. That's until Ottawa got involved.
The game changed when Trudeau jumped into it. We had stopped them. Kinder Morgan was pulling out of British Columbia and going back to Texas. We had stopped them, and then the federal government jumps in.
So the Canadian taxpayer owns Trans Mountain now, spending more than $30 billion to get the project finished. But these Burnaby residents say it wasn't just the feds that kept TMX alive. They say Canada's big banks helped bail out the project too, helping to keep TMX afloat while costs ballooned to nearly 5 times initial estimates.
So this is about stopping the money pipeline, because the only way these projects get to that bait and switch is by financing at the beginning.
And they say unless that changes, Canada will be unable to meet its looming climate goals.
So here we are, our bathtub of emissions is overflowing, and we're looking around for the mop and some towels, but we're not turning off the spigot. So we're about turning off the spigot.
Opponents of TMX still frustrated they were unable to stop the project, but resigned to the fact that ship has sailed. The marine terminal on Burrard Inlet now filling more tankers with oil from the line. Locals worried about what that means for this inlet and for the bridges that cross it.
I'm worried about the tanker taking out one of the pillars and spilling its contents, right?
This recent crash in Baltimore, a chilling reminder of what can go wrong. A cargo ship lost power, crashing into a bridge there, killing 6.
So triple the amount of hydrocarbons are going to come through your neighborhood, right to this marine terminal.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
Well, less safe. I must say that I have never thought of it before until they started building this and expanding it and wanting to bring more in, right?
Tanker traffic to the Trans Mountain Terminal is going to dramatically increase from about 1 per week to about 1 a day. A big jump, more big ships on the water more often. We wanted to see for ourselves what that looked like. So we hit the water with a local conservation group.
What goes through your mind when you see like a tanker of that size sitting so close to people that are, crabbing?
Yeah, I mean, and I know like the Tsleil-Waututh Nation has been doing a lot of work to try to restore Burrard Inlet, and so much work that they've been doing could be so quickly undone by one little spill or accident.
Of course, spills aren't the only threat caused by the increase in traffic here. More ships, a symptom of more demand for oil. For now, a necessity even among those who oppose fossil fuels.
It would be awesome if this boat had an electric engine on it, and that's the kind of thing we'd love to work towards. And so, yeah, no, we're not going to stop right now. And of course, I drove a truck to get this boat here as well. So yeah, it's about kind of working together on making that transition in a good way, I think. And not leaving those folks in Alberta behind either.
Noise from the ships could make life harder for killer whales in the area too. Researchers have looked into how noisy tankers are affecting orca pods.
When you're a whale and you're echolocating, you're sending sonar signals for food, and you're listening for the echoes to be able to figure out where the fish is. You have a space that is greatly reduced with underwater noise.
All that extra noise makes it harder for the whales to hunt. Having ships slow down or use quieter engines can help minimize the impact, but this scientist says it's not enough.
So what's it like for a killer whale to be out in the water with all that extra tanker traffic?
The best analogy I can give is that of navigating in a sort of acoustic fog or acoustic smog. It is the same as for people to be trying to find each other in very, very thick smog or fog.
And of course, spills are a big worry for marine life too, an uneasiness rooted in recent experience.
In 2007, we had a pipeline rupture because of a construction operation just behind me here. And that sent tens of thousands of gallons of crude oil into Burrard Inlet, into the waters around this terminal. So these spills happen.
So more oil is now flowing here in Burrard Inlet. How people feel about that often depends on where they sit along that line. From embracing the economic benefits in Edson,
I believe it's still absolutely essential to us,
to agonizing about the environmental impact in Burnaby.
The fact that that ship has sailed is a tremendous disappointment.
And now that the crude is moving, there's likely only one way to slow it down: use less.
Part of the journey around the pipeline to me is trying to empower a sense that each individual in this area has a role to play, has an opportunity to weigh in and reduce our collective footprints in the greater Salish Sea.
An understanding that no matter which side of the pipeline divide you sit, it's here to stay, at least until we stop needing it.
Aaron, thanks for this story. I feel like we've been on this journey with you. I'm curious, the TMX has been characterized, I suppose, as Canada's last big pipeline project, but how fair is that?
You know, Adrian, after more than a decade to get to this point, to get this one built, you'd think that would be fair, but here's the thing, demand for oil, it's still creeping up, and really that's been the case for as long as we've been using hydrocarbons to get around and power things in our society. Now, don't get me wrong, that could change. There's predictions out there that it will, but so far it hasn't, and until that demand comes down, someone's probably going to try to make a buck meeting it, and that probably means a pipeline. And some smart folks that I've spoken with, they think that climate change means that the next big pipeline fight might be over moving oil north to the Arctic.
Okay, that's interesting, but what will be different with the next one, though?
Well, I think a few things are going to be different, right? So this was a hard project to get done. The federal government had to step in and buy it, and I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen again, but some of the changes to the regulations around building a project like this are here for good. So if you look at the skyrocketing costs of this line, a lot of it had to do with more consultation with First Nations, more sensitivity around environmental issues, and I think those considerations are here to stay, which likely means any future pipelines built in Canada, they're going to take a long time and they're going to cost a lot of money to build.
All right, Aaron Collins in Calgary, thank you.
You bet.
Next, a baseball crowd forced to be patient after a swarm delays the game.
Quite a scene here at Chase Field, and thus we remain in a bee delay.
Aha, until a heroic beekeeper comes along. That's in our moment. Oh dear, talk about a buzzkill. Yesterday's Diamondbacks game was delayed for nearly 2 hours after a bee colony just made itself comfortable, right on the netting, right behind home plate. Well, lucky for them, beekeeper Matt Hilton was on the way. Not only did he save the bees, but the game as well. The audience-crowned MVP is our moment.
Here he comes, the hero of the day. Matt Hilton is his name.
So the Arizona Diamondbacks last night were hosting the LA Dodgers, and just before first pitch, we realized there was a big colony of bees on the backstop, and the umpires and the ground crew, they all determined that it was too dangerous to play.
Quite a scene here at Chase Field.
Beekeeper Matt Hilton came out about 30 minutes later, and the crowd went crazy for him. It was electric, and he actually told the crowd, "Let me hear you, get louder." Our DJ was very creative, so he was putting songs up during that had to do with bees. Matt did his thing, got the bee down safely and out of there. He takes off his helmet at the end, and you see this handsome guy, all chiseled. He looked like he was right out of casting from Hollywood. So we ended up having him throw out a first pitch. We would not have played that game if it wasn't for Matt Hilton. So it was a fun night for him and the crowd, and everybody fell in love with him.
What a guy. So there's more to this story. He was actually at his child's final T-ball game. He had to leave that game to go, do his thing. By the time he got home, his child was asleep. Perhaps he will be forgiven. From all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app. Subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.